How's it going, Dave and Comic Book Investments? So, got some stuff back from CGC. Figure I'd go through it, and it's going to be pretty much all Spider-Man. I got a ton of Spider-Man stuff. You know, Silver Age, Bronze, Copper, Modern, all that good stuff. So, let's go through it. All right, Spider-Man. This is number 10. This first appearance in the Enforcers is a 4.0, and I got it for $5.49. I have my laptop up here so I can see things. New laptop. Well, it's not new. I bought it used, but new to me. Iron Man number 1, $3.25. Here's a Spider-Man Silver Surfer, number 14. And this is $10.99. This is a pretty expensive book. Silver Surfers tend to be a little more expensive. Here's like a non-Spider-Man. Cover his eyes. Doesn't want to see this. Superman. Number, what is this? 43. $4.39. And then we got first Moon Knight if you want a low grade. We got a 1.8. This is up for $4.25. So that's it for those books. Let's move on to back to Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man 87. I got a ton of stuff. Ton more than this. Just tons and tons and tons. Just go to our website, collectorscomics.com, if you want to look up more of this stuff. I'm just showcasing some stuff. 87 and 9.4. This is $6.59. Number 88 in a 9.2. Sorry, I have to like look at the grades because I get multiples in the same grade. $2.59. Let's move this. Just going through this. It's first. This is the death of Cap Stacy, Gwen Stacy's father, and a 9.2. $4.99. Trying this new thing out if I can look on here, but I don't know if it works very well because I'm like constantly trying to like squint and see. I'm probably saying like not getting it lined up correctly. I think I have a better way of doing that. All right, 93. Maybe if it's over here. $4.59. But yeah, I've been trying to. Because right now I have to run everything off my desktop, and so I got a laptop, and I'm trying to run everything out here, but my camera is a webcam, and it needs a USB, and this only has USB-C, so I couldn't even use it. So I had to get an adapter. Whatever book this is, number 94 and a 9.0, $2.19. Number 95. $1.99. $1.79 in a 9.8. $3.49. And then we got, what is this? I always forget, like, okay, Ties with Marvel, 141 for the first black costume. I like did a video on this too. I'm like trying to remember. So, okay. So Marvel's Superheroes Secret Wars 8 is the first origin of the symbiote. And that came out before this book, I believe. This is the first time for it. Oh, I can't remember. I remember there's like something to do with they came out around the same time, but their published date is not the same as the actual date that they came out, and there's a bunch of stuff. I can't remember. I think this is the one. This is the one to get if you're into Spider-Man and Venom. $4.29 for a 9.6. And then we got Hobgoblin, early appearance, $2.45. $2.19 and a 9.8. Got a ton of 9.8s, all high grade stuff. I got this from a collection a long time ago. Yeah, just now finally started to list them. 263, they're 98, 149. Most of these, if you're looking at them, they pretty much came back to the grade I was hoping for. No real surprises in any of them. Some that I sent in, I thought they were going to be like 9.8s, got 9.6s. Some I sent in, I thought they were going to be 9.6s, got 9.8s. Nothing really spectacular. The thing that sucks about these books is if you send them in to get, like, you're hoping to get a 9.8, for example, this book right here. Well, this is actually a piss poor example. I don't know why I said that. 9.8, 279, first appearance of Silver Sable. Obviously, that's a key book. But something like this, right? This is not a key book. It's Fire Lord appears, a whoop-de-doo. Something like this, so you send it in, let's say 269, it's 109, right? I have it listed for 109. So if you're trying to, like me, I'm sending in a bunch of these, and it's like, okay, it's worth it, I guess, to get a 9.8, because 9.8's like, even me dollar amounts, like it's $109, may not be worth it. It's kind of like hard to sell a book as a 9.8 if it's not graded as a 9.8. So once you get that in there, get that 9.8, it makes it so much easier to sell. So it's like you could have a raw copy of like this as a 9.8 if you call it raw. A lot of people ask me, it's like, why don't you talk about the raw prices? It's like, because it's impossible. You can't. Because your 9.8 is different than my 9.8, which is different than the person down the street's 9.8. They're all different, and you can't. And a lot of people like grade something raw and maybe try to artificially bump it up so people pay more. So you can't do that with a raw stuff. So I don't give raw prices because I need some solidified something. And then people argue, well, CGC, you could send this book in and you could get a 9.6. And it's like, that's true, but like usually like 90% of the time it's going to come back the correct grade. So, and they're a company. I'm not based off of one person's opinion who has a monetarily incentivized to bump up their grade. So yeah, I remember my dad would always talk about grade before CGC. He'd always like, oh, East Coast graders always grade way more loose than West Coast graders. He would say that. Very weird thing. It was like the Tupac and Biggie battle. Was it West Coast has no love for the East Coast type of thing? But that's what he would tell me. He's like, oh yeah, New York graders are always the worst. It's like they always bump up their grades. This is before CGC. He'd always talk about. He's like, so anytime I talk to someone from New York, if they call it an 9.0, it's really like an 8.0. That's what he would always say, stuff like that. But yeah. So back in the day, you would find a dealer that you would agree with on grading, and then you had to trust him because there was no like, hey, let me just upload a picture. There was none of that. Like, you couldn't. There was no, like, the internet, if it did exist, it didn't exist mainstream, and it was very small. And even prior to the internet existing, were you going to take like a picture and mail it to someone? No. So you basically had to buy it trusting that dealer. So there's a lot more connection with your dealer. If you found a good dealer, you knew he wasn't going to rip you off. You knew you could trust his grading. You knew that he wasn't going to sell you a restored book, because it's not like now. It's like, oh, if I want to find out, what color touches and all that kind of stuff, there's a million YouTube videos, tutorials, and all this kind of stuff to figure out what it was. So you really needed to trust your dealer, your comic book dealer. That was a big thing back in the day. If you had someone who was shiesty, could screw you over constantly. Could sell you trimmed books, restored books. You would have no idea. You wouldn't know what you're looking for. It was just much different back then. And getting information was way harder. So you really needed to trust your dealer. So grading was part of that, if you could find a dealer that had good grading. But yeah, so back to my original point. I don't even know what I was talking about. But something like this, it sucks, is I send in a bunch of these and they'll come back like a 9.6 or a 9.4. Well, now it's just pointless. It just, not even worth it. It's like, okay, I sent this in, it comes back a 9.4. It's like, okay, well, now it's like $35. It's like, I lost money, even if I got the book for free. So not really worth it. So you have to be really careful. I would suggest, unless you're really, really, even me, like, I'll look at a book and I'm like, oh, that's a 9.8. Send it in. Oh, it gets a 9.6 or a 9.4. It's like, yeah, I could probably send it in again if I really truly believe that it's a 9.8 and probably get that 9.8. But it's like, okay, now I'm spending a bunch more money on a cheap book. No. So my suggestion for people is just buy them already graded. You don't have to second guess yourself. It's there, secures your investment, secures the book. If you really want to read them, buy yourself a cheap raw copy. Like books like this, like, you know, this Spider-Man 269, you could pick up a copy for like $5 in decent shape, like in a 9.0, like raw, like, or even less. So, yeah. Or if you want to save on space, get those omnibuses or read them online. But if you want to actually have the comic in hand or something, yeah. Controversial cover. $2.99. This book has been going up quite a bit. So it was always really popular because I think it's a really cool cover, to be perfectly honest. I like the cover. Yeah, it's Scott Campbell. He draws very well. And someone online made a post about how her proportions are off. I'm like, oh my God, give me a break. Not this again. I can't stand it when people do that. They like, if you're going to do it, then do it for the males. Like, why are you always just harping on the females? Oh, it's so unrealistically drawn. They have such a harder time in society. Oh my God. Like, no one looks like Jim Lee's Batman. No human. And he's supposed to be human. He doesn't even have superpowers. So, if you're going to attack the women's side, why don't you redraw the men too? And then we can have a bunch of redrawn, average looking people as your superheroes, which no one really wants to read. You read a fantasy book, which is fantasy, because you want to dive into the fantasy of things. So it's already unrealistic with the fact that there's a guy who is bitten by a radioactive spider and has superpowers. Or there's an alien from a planet called Krypton that doesn't exist. I mean, it could exist. We just don't know. So I don't know why people care. So they redrew it and they posted about it, basically saying what a terrible artist Scott Campbell is and unrealistic and all blah, blah, blah. And then Scott Campbell redrew his drawing. He's like, well, if you're going to go more realistic, then let's do this. Like, and then that guy got mad that Scott Campbell redrew. Like, here's the thing. If I was drawing a correction of any artist and they correct me, I'm a terrible artist, by the way, and they corrected me, I'd be so thankful. I'd be like, hey, can I have those originals, please? I would like to hang them on my wall. I wouldn't get mad at the guy for correcting my correction of the person. I don't know. Big old stink for no reason whatsoever. I'm ranting. 607, 189 for 9.6. This one's a good one too. He can draw the female form. Yes, he can. He is very, very good at it. It's like Matt Baker. If you don't know who he is, look him up. And if you don't know how to look for him, look up my video on top 10 forgotten artists. Matt Baker, very good, very, very good at drawing the female form. 611, $69 for this one with Deadpool. It's got a young cover. And then last one on here is we got Spider-Man 700. I remember going to the comic shop and picking up this book. Not this exact one. 149. Yeah, I think that was the last time I bought a brand new comic book off the newsstand. That was the last time with Spider-Man 700 off the newsstand. Like, I bought new comic books before, but like the day it was released, like, no, take that back. That was a lie. I lied to you. I picked up Batman Damned #1. I don't even know what year that was. This was 2013. So I don't know when Batman Damned was, but that was the last time I picked up. So I picked up Batman Damned off the newsstand, like brand new, just released. Actually, when I went and picked it up, I think it was like a day old. But Spider-Man 700, I picked up the day it was released. I went to a comic shop, which I don't think he was even there anymore. And they had a Tick #1 that I was thinking about buying because it's a good deal, but I ended up not. It was like $50 and I didn't have $50. But yeah, that is it. I hope you like this stuff. Have a great day.